G'day there, I'm Rob Malicki. Welcome to this latest automated training program. It's great to see you today. And I'm really pumped up because today is a very important training program for you because this is one of the most important topics that you need to know about in order to keep your Ontraport account organized and make sure you're always able to find exactly what you're looking for. So let's dive right in. Okay, so today's training is about the critical issue of naming conventions. So what's a naming convention? A naming convention is literally what it sounds like. It's a way of naming different items inside your Ontraport account to make sure you can always find what you're looking for. And basically naming conventions should be applied pretty much everywhere inside your Ontraport account. So whether you're naming a campaign, whether you are naming messages or rules or sequences or basically anything, tasks inside Ontraport, you want to use a consistent naming convention. I'm going to show you exactly why. So let's start by logging into your Ontraport account. Obviously we hit the Ontraport homepage, we're hitting sign in, and from there we're logging straight into our account. Now I've actually logged into the Global Society account here because we've got a really good naming convention here, so it's a really good one to demonstrate. Along the top, as usual, you can see our different objects. We have our dashboard, we have the organizations, contacts. These are our so contacts is a regular object, organizations is a custom object, as we've discussed in other videos. The Global Society Foundation contacts is a separate object, and we actually keep track of all of our content inside our custom object for content items. So, because Global Society's got literally hundreds of pieces of content. But I'm going to start off here in our contacts object, and I'm going to scroll down to messages. And straight away, as soon as this loads, you're going to see that there are some familiarities or some similarities in the way that all of these different campaigns, these different messages are named. And if I click on the word name here, it's actually going to sort them into order. So here you can see things like E, partner, benefit, mobility 101, . So what each of these things actually means? Well, let's say that I want to search for everything to do with partners. And as you can see here, this has retrieved 29 messages in this benefit related messages group. Let's just pull all of them and you'll see all of the messages that we've got. We have 526 different messages, different template messages that we send out to members, partners and other at different times in different campaigns. So if I'm looking for one email in that, it's actually really hard to find because I can't remember necessarily. If I just start searching for what was that thing, like transcripts, this might not actually return any results because I don't remember exactly what I wrote into the subject or into the name of my message. But what we can do is by using a naming protocol, which is this series of like words and then colons, we can then actually create groups and search much more effectively. So let's say that I actually want to search for all of my messages relating to partners. I can actually type in the word partners in my search box, and pretty much any email that has anything to do with a partner or a non-partner in this case actually gets retrieved. So what's really important is that every time I create a message that has something to do with partners, I include the word partner and a colon in the naming protocol, in the name of that message. The other thing that we can do with that is we can start to create groups. So if here you can see I've got some existing groups, so I'm going to create a new one. And I'm going to call this messages relating to partners. And what I do is I add my condition, and the name, I want the name of my message contains partners and a colon. So this is where it's really important. If you have a colon afterwards, basically it'll only retrieve messages whose titles say partners, colon, and that's it. If I just left this blank and just had it saying partners with no colon, any message that has the word partners in the title, in the name of that message will get retrieved. Whereas here, this will only retrieve messages that I specifically said these are partners emails that I might want to retrieve in a particular group. So if I hit save, you'll see that this is going to retrieve any kind of named message where this says partners and a colon, partners colon, partners colon, partners colon. Let's think about the Mobility 101 benefit for our partner universities. So I can create a new group and I can create one that says Mobility 101 messages. Once again, I'm going to add a new condition. And you can see I can create groups just as any other group based on any field that's inside, in this case, the contacts object. But I want to match it based on name. And I'm going to say it contains Mobility 101 colon. So what this should do is actually retrieve, or oops, okay, it didn't. Let's edit that group. Good example. Mobility 101 messages. For some reason that didn't come back with anything. So let's just try removing this. This is just the way that these messages have been named, for example. Oh no, it isn't. Here it is. Because you can see I've actually got two search terms up the top. So up here you can see this is a really good learning curve, learning lesson for you. Sometimes when you're creating groups, your search field still has a value in the top and you don't want that. So I actually want to, let's just edit this group out. We'll keep our colon in there, save it, and let me just remove that search term up in the top right-hand corner. And here's one of my messages, Mobility 101, the outcomes of outbound mobility. So that's a great way of me being able to actually create groups that pull exactly what I'm looking for. So pretty much anytime you create a suite of messages about something in particular, let's say it's pre-departure, you would want to name those messages something like students, colon, pre-departure, colon, initial pre-departure message, follow-up pre-departure message, etc., etc. So each one of those messages has got the same kind of content. Let's look at another example, pages, and you'll see once again we've got different naming. It's a similar naming convention, except we use it for pages as well. So these are the Ontraport pages that we've created, and here I've got a group for Mobility 101 landing pages, and you can see that if I edit that group, the name contains Mobility 101, and all of these are all the different course pages for those hosted Mobility 101 videos, which is really cool. So once again, inside pages, I can start to track the different types of pages that we've created. So it's really important to be systematic when you're naming everything. Even if we go to content items, this is a fantastic one. Heather Hutchison, who set this up for us, was incredibly thorough about her naming convention. And so if I choose social media content, this group has been created based on a tag that says contains that it's social media appropriate. But let's create a new group, and the new group might be, it has something to do with this tag EX. Okay, so exchange related content. Exchange related content. And what I'm doing is adding a condition that says the content item name contains EX colon. All right. Once again, remember up here with permissions, when you're looking at creating groups, you can make it viewable to everyone or only viewable to your one particular user. So let's make that viewable to everyone, hit save, and it's going to retrieve all of the content items whose name actually contains EX colon. So this is like students that are on exchange. Go figure. So very, very detailed. So it's an incredibly powerful way of you organizing things inside your accounts, and you should use your naming convention for everything. That means if you're creating campaigns, they should use a naming convention. Sequences and rules, not all accounts inside our automated service will use sequences and rules, but if you do use them, use a naming convention. Forms should use a naming convention. Messages should use a naming convention. Pages should use a naming convention. All the different objects and the different types of areas where you work in Ontraport should use a naming convention. I think I've repeated myself enough now. So that's it for this video. We will actually supply you with a template and example naming convention. And of course, that's then up to you to decide if you want to adapt that in some way that's specific for your institution. So for example, if you have messages that relate to students from one particular faculty, you might want to have in your naming convention something like business colon, or sciences colon, or students that are going on different types of experiences. So if it relates to students doing study tours, and those messages relate only to students doing study tours, colon. Now I'm going to show you one other reason why naming convention is so important. And that's when we go into other areas of Ontraport and we want to start searching for messages or pages or other things. Having that naming convention is critical. Let me show you really fast what I mean. In another video, we're going to talk about building campaigns. And I'm going to demonstrate very quickly here, without explaining campaigns themselves, why naming convention is so important. So I'm going to create a new campaign. We're going to look at this in a lot of detail in another video. And I'm just going to create a new step where this campaign sends an email to somebody. And over here, I now get to choose which email is getting sent to, let's say, a student. So this becomes really complicated, right? Because if I've just named my messages with all sorts of different names and I haven't used that, that students colon naming convention, I literally have to remember 500 different message names. Whereas what I can do is if I know it's an email that has to be sent to a student and I've been consistent about my naming convention, I can type in the word student, and what Ontraport does is start retrieving all of the names, all of the messages that have the name student in it. And this is of course invaluable because now the list that I need to scroll through is much shorter. And if, for example, it's got something to do with RMIT, well, I've searched for RMIT and there it is. So that's it, folks. Super easy, but super important, and so many people stuff this up. And if you have to go back and retrospectively implement a naming convention, it's a real hassle. So do it from the beginning and it'll serve you really well. That's it from me today, and I hope you have a great day, whatever you're working on. Check out our resource on naming convention, and as always, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to let us know. See you next time at Automated Training. Take care.